Welcome to another episode of the Exit Rich podcast. We're so delighted to bring you another special, amazing guest. This time we have Melinda Emerson. Melinda Emerson. So, as always, post your questions, your comments. We will give away 3 chapters of my book, Exit Rich. So, Melinda Emerson is known as the Small Biz Lady. The Small Biz Lady is America's #1 small business expert. She is a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and marketing expert. How many of you ask me about marketing every single day I talk to y'all? All of you. CEO of, can you say your company name? I want to make sure I don't mess that up.
It's Quintessence Group. Quintessence Group.
I'm glad I did that because I would have messed it up. Quintessence Group. And so her marketing consulting firm serves Fortune 500 brands that target small businesses. Her advice is widely read, reaching more than 3 million. Y'all get that? 3 million entrepreneurs weekly online. She's an online school and host the Small Business Chat podcast. She is a best-selling author of Become Your Own Boss in 12 months. And listen, she told me the other day that that's an old book she wrote a long time ago, and nobody bought it. But since COVID, everybody's buying it like crazy. So, Melinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So, Melinda, tell us a little bit about Melinda. What were you like as a little girl?
Oh my gosh. I think I was wearing little business suits by the age of 9. I always wanted to be an adult, was very interested in business. I was the president of my junior achievement business when I was in high school. So I've always been about the business, and I'm the oldest of 4. I have 3 younger brothers. So I like to tell people that I've been the boss my whole life.
So, I have 4 older brothers. So, tell me, did you grow up in a family of entrepreneurs?
No, actually. Well, no, that's actually not true. So my father was a career salesman. He worked for Kraft Foods for 30 years until he passed. But my mom was a serial entrepreneur, but she was always getting into these multi-level marketing businesses that she never made any money, right? But she did everything. She did Tupperware, she did Metaluca, she did Avon, she did Copper, she did artistic impressions. At one point, she took classes and reupholstered people's furniture, right? I mean, she was somebody that was always hustling, and she was a hard worker, but she always had a soft heart for people. She was always a sucker for a sob story. And so she always gave away more product than she sold.
That, a soft heart does not always go well with entrepreneurship because
No, because
people
people
give
see
away
trouble.
everything.
But my dad was a killer salesperson. And I think that's where I got it from. I mean, he could sell ice to an Eskimo, right? And so I learned my sales acumen absolutely from him. But I got my sort of like entrepreneurial opportunity buzz from my mom.
All right, cool. So you kind of have the best of both worlds, entrepreneur and a salesperson, because not all entrepreneurs are salespeople, and not all salespeople are
Most
entrepreneurs.
entrepreneurs are not salespeople.
All
That's the
right.
problem. But yeah, yeah.
So how did you become the small biz
Well,
lady?
it's funny. I've been an entrepreneur myself for 24 years. I started as a television producer, got my dream job when I was really young, and I hated it. So I became an entrepreneur. And then, 5, 6 years in, I started to get these calls from my friends. Girl, I want to be like you. I want to quit my job today. I want to be an entrepreneur. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. No, no, you love Prada. You can't quit your job. Like, you have 2 brand new cars to drive away. Your lifestyle is too fantastic. You can't become an entrepreneur. And so it started out, I wrote this ebook called 44 Things to Do Before You Go into Business back in, like 2006. And it actually went viral on the internet. And it was the precursor for my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, which was originally published in 2010, but it's now in its 3rd edition with Simon & Schuster. And we've sold a whole lot of copies of that across the US and across the world. So definitely it's one of those things where I wrote this book to get people off my phone. And then it just, kind of went from there. When the book was originally supposed to be released was right around the time the market crashed in '08. And so my publisher was like, listen, we don't think anyone's thinking about entrepreneurship right now. We're going to shelf your book until March of 2010. And I was like, and this was September of 2008. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? This book is not coming out. And a friend of mine was like, listen, if I were you, I would start publicizing that book online and figure out this new social media thing. Everybody says it's going to be the biggest thing in business. And you got to realize in 2008, Twitter was only 1 year old. So it was really new. Not a lot of people knew what it was. And I hired a publicist that knew as much as anyone knew about it at the time. And she was like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to build your author platform on Twitter. And I remember saying to her, what is Twitter? Right? I didn't even know what she was talking about. And so finally the day came for me to get my own Twitter account. So I went to twitter.com and I put in Melinda Emerson. And I got this polite note back that said, this name is already taken. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, I don't have a common name. Like, I probably.
I didn't know that was a thing with Twitter. I didn't even know that somebody else.
Yeah, apparently, thanks to Facebook, I found out that there are 7 other Melinda Emersons in the United States. But I'm the only Black one, and I own melindaemerson.com. So they all know who I am. But long story short, we had to come up with a nickname for me. And we were kicking some around. And then finally, she was like, how about Small Biz Lady? And I was like, okay. I had never had a nickname in my life. And then all of a sudden I had a nickname that honestly became a moniker. And it really was the best branding thing that ever happened to me, because there's thousands of small business experts. There is only one Small Biz Lady. And so it really has worked out for me.
That's awesome. That always goes to my point. Why is this happening for us and not to us?
Right.
Because if you could have used Melinda Emerson, then you would never be branded as a small lady.
Exactly. And it really helped me immediately stand out from the other competitors. And then we later created Small Biz Chat on Twitter, which was a weekly tweet chat that now 15 years later, it's a very successful podcast. But for 10 years, I did live.
And I'm going to be on,
absolutely.
Right?
We're going to have you on. Everybody wants to exit rich. I definitely want to have you on my podcast. But for me, our thing was we wanted to figure out how to find small business owners that had questions. And so we created Small Biz Chat so people would come and ask their questions, and we would have one guest, and we would do it on Twitter as a tweet chat. And I did that for 10 years. And then we switched it over to a podcast about 4.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I can't wait to be on. I'm excited. So so you've been around business a long time. I've been around business a long time. I've been doing this for about 23 years. I was an entrepreneur before I even got into M&A. You've been doing this for what, 24, 25 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys listening, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a quick ride. So hold on tight. All right. So we're going to talk together, Melinda and I. And because I know we're going to share a lot of the same philosophies. We spoke yesterday and we did. So I know we will now. So what do you feel are some of the biggest challenges that small businesses face today?
Well, the biggest challenge is people do not niche their business, right? People chase anybody they think has money. They don't do enough research on a specific customer. And all small business owners have the same problem, and that's limited time and limited resources. So you need to pick a marketing target that you can actually hit. And people just, spray money around.
It's all about to step on the wall.
Yeah, and it's like, no, if you get to know a specific niche target customer intimately, not just their basic demographic information, but their aspirational information. What are their barriers? What are their beliefs? That's how you can create marketing messages that will actually resonate with them. And you don't have to spend $1 zillion when you're talking to a very specific target audience. I tell people all the time, niche to get rich, please. I think the other
niche to get rich. I love that. Somebody on my team put niche to get rich in the comments, please. Niche to get rich. Okay, so I think that's very important. So kind of give an example of that. Somebody you saw throwing a bunch of stuff up against the wall? How did you get them
Oh,
focused
listen,
and
I'll
get them
give you
moved?
my own example, right? I eat my own dog food. So I will tell you, in the early years of my business, I did exactly what I'm talking about. We were trying to chase government contracts. We were trying to chase video production for pharmaceutical. We were trying to chase, nonprofits that needed videos for their annual events. And it got ridiculous. Like, it got to the point where we spent almost $50,000 in 1 year chasing government contracts, going down to Ostabu events, trade shows, all this stuff, and did not win a single contract. It was not until we focused on where we were. My company is based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, 22 of the top pharmaceutical companies in the nation are between New York and Wilmington, Delaware. So when we finally said, oh, wait a minute, look at where we are geographically, look at a niche that has done business with us. What if we push all our chips in on them? Once we focused in the pharmaceutical industry with my first company, we started killing it. I mean, but literally, we spent 3 years out here in the wilderness chasing anybody and almost went out of business doing that. So I'm not telling
Wow.
you what I think. I'm telling you dumb stuff I did myself. And my mission in business has been to end small business failure. So I'm out here telling you what I did so that you do not do this. That is what
And what company was that? What product was that? What were you
so,
selling?
so originally, my company, Quintessence Group, was a video production company when I first came out of the
Oh,
television
okay.
industry.
Okay.
And later on, we morphed into a marketing consulting firm because we were developing content. It just changed who the content was for. So for us, we really transitioned to social media and marketing content about 7, 8 years into the business. But we were a video production company at first, purely.
Okay. So everybody get that? You need to niche it down, and because you can't be everything to everybody, and you can't just throw a bunch of stuff up against the wall. So I
Mm,
do believe in multiple profit centers, multiple congruent revenue streams. But yes, you cannot be everything to everybody. If you look at the Ritz Carlton, who do they cater to, right?
exactly.
So you got to look at different companies like that. Who does the Ritz Carlton
Look
cater
at
to?
Planet Fitness
Look at
versus
Planet.
like Bally's or one of these other big. Planet Fitness serves pizza in their exercise facility on Friday. They don't even want super buff, crazy people that go 5 days a week. That's not even who they want, right? So everybody has a customer that they serve, and you need
You
to
know
know who
what?
the
I
customer
didn't
is.
know that. I didn't know Planet Fitness serves pizza.
Oh, Planet Fitness serves pizza. They are not these buff musclehead, like they're like just for people that want a little bit of exercise. They're
I'm
not for
gonna
people
go to
trying to.
Planet Fitness just for the pizza. You just gave Planet Fitness a huge plug there. I hope you
Hey,
get some royalty. All right. So, what other mistakes do you see small business owners make? Niche.
definitely just not knowing their numbers, right? You have to know how
Ooh.
much profit is in every sale
Can
because
I
if
give
you
you an
can,
amen, an amen, an amen on that? Oh,
yeah, I
what's that
mean, because
noise?
it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And if you're
We have
not
technical
focused on that
difficulty.
from day one, tracking profitability, making sure you're focused on your most profitable line of business or products, you will not be making sales. The other issue I see a lot of times is people do not price themselves properly. They go on the internet and they see what their competitors are pricing at, and they price a dollar above or a dollar below them. You need to know what your costs are before you start stacking what your pricing is. You have to make sure that you have profit margin in your pricing strategy. If you don't, you could be making sales and not making any money. And I read a Harvard study a few years ago that said most small businesses, 60% of small businesses in America are not profitable by any measure you could possibly use. And that is ridiculous. So we got to mind the money, folks. You got to know your numbers. You cannot let your fear of math be the reason why you don't know what's going on in your business financially. You put yourself and your family's financial future on the line with this business, and you got to focus on the money.
So you see me smiling, right? And the reason I'm smiling is because amen. We had a technical difficulty there, but I kept saying amen, 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 because it's so true. And exit rich, my 6 P's, my last P is profit. You're in what Melinda's saying right now is so true because most business owners, and rather that's small businesses and even sometimes the larger businesses, don't know their numbers. They don't know their KPIs. They don't know the profit margin. A lot of them think they're making money until I get a cash flow statement to find out you're like 3 months away from going to out of business and going into bankruptcy. So
Right.
you have to know your numbers. You have to know that profit margin for your specific industry, by the way, because there's different profit margins for every single industry.
And
So
your bank can tell you this information. Your bank can tell you what the profit margin should be for your industry because that's how they're tracking and evaluating you. So they know.
yes, and then there's also other resources too that you can get for that as well. And it's not just tracking your money and know your numbers, know your KPIs, but it's also, Melinda, having those checks and balances because 3 out of 5 businesses will be embezzled every single year. So you want to make sure you
Really?
have those checks and balances. There's
Oh,
over there's over a trillion, I think it's $1 trillion that are stolen by employee theft every year. So you need to have those checks and balances in place. You need to make sure whoever gets the mail isn't making a deposit. And you got to make sure you always have those checks and balances, inspect what you expect because of embezzlement. But first and foremost, if you don't know your numbers, it's going to be very easy for someone to embezzle money from you. And so you always have to have your financials under lock and key and just get savvy in financials. That's a lot of times, Melinda, that's business owners' weakest part. And I always say, hide your strength, focus on your strengths, hire out your weaknesses. So yes, I've seen it to where even the CPAs have embezzled money from their clients. So have your checks and balances. So niche, know your numbers. And what was the other one you said, Melinda?
the other one I said was just make sure you understand your pricing.
Your
Don't make sure
pricing.
there's profit margin in your pricing. Don't just price what the competitor is pricing, price what you need to charge to pay your bills. The biggest thing that I see is people don't put a percentage of their overhead and G&A in their pricing. So the things you can't bill for, your marketing, your legal, your accounting, your light bill, right? A percentage of that has to be included in your pricing. You can't
Yeah.
just go on labor, materials, shipping, packaging. It's not just that. It's the other side of your business that you can't bill directly for.
I agree 1,000%. And a lot of clients are like, hey, Michelle, I'm building revenue. I'm building revenue. I'm building revenue. I'm like, okay, what about the profits? Because you're spending all
Right.
this money to go chase more revenue, but you haven't even figured out what's your profit margin, how much overhead is that going to take, and at the end of the day, are you going to turn a profit? Or are you going to see an ROI, return on investment?
Right. Right.
All right, so we got know your pricing strategy, know your financials, have a niche. What else do you have?
People, look, if your business can only grow as far as your two hands can reach, so that means you need some more hands. But
That's right.
I'm not talking about your cousin that needs a job, right? I'm talking about write a job description, put it out, have a criteria, interview at least 3 to 5 people for any job. And don't just interview people, prepare an onboarding process for them, right? We as small businesses, we love to hire people and then throw them the keys and say good luck and then get mad because they're not delivering how we need them to deliver. That does not make any sense, guys. The more time you spend onboarding and getting to know your employees, the longer they will stay with you. And the more you get interested in what they care about in their personal life, the harder they will work to take care of your customers. So, all of us as entrepreneurs, we have to be coaching leaders in our businesses. We have to be interested in our employees. If you treat them like an hourly employee, that's how they're going to treat your customers. So you want to be really clear about not just giving people tasks to do, but giving them opportunities to grow, to think, and to giving them time with you so that they know exactly how you want it. So that then later on, if they don't deliver, it's a short conversation because they already know they didn't deliver based upon how you taught them.
Okay. Quick, because there was something I want to add it to the notes. and I don't see it in the notes. So, what was that we wanted in the notes? It was something great you said.
Was it niche to
Yeah,
get rich? I
something
don't
really
know.
good you said that I said, put that in the notes.
I
Hopefully my
don't
team,
know. I don't
hopefully
know.
my team
We
is
might have to go back.
remembering and they go back and put it in their team. All right, so I agree with you. So this is how in sync that Melinda and I are, because she talks about people. It's the first P in my book, Exit Rich, is people. There, you can't build a company with one, and you can't build a company with your aunts, cousins, uncles, etc., or even on interns or independent contractors. You can do
No,
that in the beginning. You can start with interns. You can start with independent contractors, but you still must build that company. Now, is there always room for contractors? Absolutely. Is there always room for interns? 1,000%. But you got to build that team. You got to build the seats and the who's. So you identify who answers the phone, who handles quality control, who handles manufacturing, distribution. The list goes on, and then who is handling that seat, right? So you got the seats and the who's, and so that's the biggest issue, Melinda. Why businesses aren't sellable is because the business is too dependent upon the owner. Owners are working in it, not on it.
that's it. That's it. If you cannot take a laptop free vacation, if you can't go away for 2 weeks and your business not still be making money while you're gone, it's time to look at that. And actually, my book, Fix Your Business, is all about that. Because in it, I talk about my 12 P's of running a successful business. And it really looks at all the areas of a business that really could clothesline you. And I mean, all of us, nobody wants to be a slave to your business. I mean, the whole point of having a business is so that you can live your dream life. But if you're working 60, 70 hours a week and your kids are barely seeing you and your partner is resenting you because they're doing the heavy lifting because you're always at the office trying to make this business work, you got to look at your business model. You got to figure out how you can work smarter and not harder.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to ask yourself, do you have a business that works for you, or are you working for the business?
That's
Because then
it.
you just have a glorified job, it's all you have.
And Michael Gerber, I was just with Michael Gerber last week at an event in Texas, and he talked about this. He said, some of y'all are out here, y'all done created a job for yourself. You don't really have a business. And
Uh,
he's all about turnkey, like build a business that can run without you. And if you can't do that, you got to think about what you're doing.
so Michael Gerber, just in case somebody knows, wrote the E-Myth. And he wrote the E-Myth for pretty much every industry. And it changed a lot of businesses exponentially. So here's some questions from the audience. Emily wants to know, what are some essential digital? Oh, we haven't gotten into that. We'll come back to that. Um, let's see. So I think we've already talked about. We talked about the biggest mistakes, which kind of tie in to why businesses fail. Not knowing your
Mhm.
numbers, not having a niche, you know, spreading yourself too thin, not having the right people in the right seats,
Mhm.
and not knowing your pricing structure. Any other reasons that you've seen businesses
The
fail?
other one, and this might be the biggest one, people don't nurture their existing customers, right? And it absolutely makes me crazy. It's like a new customer is only going to close 5 to 20% of the time. An existing customer will close 60 to 65% of the time if you ask them in a timely and relevant.
So repeat that, because that's important for
So
everybody to
people
hear.
don't understand that the first sale they make is always the most expensive sale. But existing customers are gold that people do not mind in businesses. They rather go out and chase new ones as opposed to nurturing ones that have already said they love you, right? It's like, and those people will buy 60 to 65% of the time. They will spend more money typically, and they will give you a referral potentially if they really become an evangelist for your product or service. So,
Mhm.
people don't realize that the relationship starts after the sale, not before. And that's how you have to build that relationship and that rapport and make those people feel special. Say thank you, ask them their opinion. Do they have any suggestions? give them a sneak peek into the things that are coming. I mean, there's so many easy ways you can love on your existing customers, and it's such a missed opportunity, especially for a lot of small business owners.
You heard that? So many ways you can love on your existing customers because a lot of business owners, well, their staff, their sales team, you might have a big company and has a whole sales team, and they might not know this, but so many people kind of forget about their customer after they sign them up. and they
Crazy,
don't continue
crazy.
and they don't continue building that relationship, building that rapport, building trust, and then getting that client to refer business to them. It's always less expensive when you can keep a customer versus having to retain a customer versus having to.
It's like a divorce. It's cheaper to keep her, right? I mean, it's the same thing. It works
Or
like that.
him, or him. She's going to keep him.
Yes, divorce is expensive. Freedom is not free. So know that you really have to think about how you can develop nurture campaigns for your existing customers. What special things can you do for your existing customers? Start by just saying thank you for your business. Try
Yeah.
that, right?
So many people don't say thank you for your business. So many people just don't even say thank you anymore, Melinda. They
It's
just don't say thank you for anything. It's insane.
yeah,
We have to go back to the basics. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right,
right.
so Kaylee wants to know what are some myths about entrepreneurship you've heard?
Oh, that grants are going to help you start your business. Yeah, or that you're going to be able to get a loan for your startup business. No, banks do not want you until you've been in business 2 years, positive cash flow, and the first thing they're going to give you is a line of credit, and they're only going to give you 10 to 50% of your gross revenue. So, like, the money to start your business is going to probably come from your right or your left pocket. So get your savings
Or
together.
your friends or your family, you know.
That's an
Yeah.
option, yeah, but it's not going to come from a institution, not even, no.
And so many individuals starting a business think that, you know.
It's
And I
crazy.
always tell them it's better to buy an existing business than to start a business, in my opinion. Because
Absolutely.
they've already
Absolutely.
got a built-in clientele. They got built-in people. They get built-in my 6 Ps, yours 12 Ps, hopefully, and they've got a built-in business versus trying to start a business, start from scratch, and learn everything. You know,
Certainly, if you have the resources to buy an existing business, that will shorten your learning curve completely. I also say, though, always find out why the owner is really selling the business, because you don't want to buy somebody else's problem. But definitely, I think more people should buy existing businesses. And there's plenty of baby boomer folks out here selling. So, really, just look around. Think about what it is you want to do. Make sure you get some industry experience, though. Join the industry association, go and learn, so that you don't end up like a fish out of water in a business you know nothing about. But
well,
I
that's why it's so imperative to go to an M&A expert to help you find the right business for you, and then make sure you cross the T's and dot the I's because training is always built in to the sales price of the business. And so you want to make sure that you're trained by the owner, by the management team, etc. So it's always better to align yourself with an expert. Just like Melinda's an expert in fixing businesses, you want to make sure that you find that expert and help you buy the business of your dreams.
100%. I think Michelle's your girl for that. So if you need help with that, you
I'm
better call
good.
my friend
You got,
Michelle.
you got something to sell, I'm your girl. You got business to sell, I'm your girl. You got business to buy, I'm your girl. You need to fix it, go to Melinda. You need to
Yeah,
create a
you
room
want
for
to fix it
sale.
so that if you want to fix it so that you can sell it, you call me. And then when you're ready, you call Michelle. And you should be calling me 5 to 7 years before you think you want to sell too, so we can get it ready.
I have
So
people call me about 2 to 3 years before. Yeah, I agree. All right. So Ed says, I recently started my business. What marketing tactics do you suggest for a small budget?
well, without question, your number one sales tactic has got to be your website. It is the welcome mat into your business. It is your number one sales tool. And after that, you've got to create social media content to engage people, but you got to have email marketing because social media is great, but email's trackable. So I want you to think about how you can leverage your website, a great lead magnet on that website to build that email list, and then use that email to build that relationship and build that trust so you can earn the right to pitch for business. Those are the best three things you can do. And I teach all of those things at Small Biz Lady University. So you want to know how to get started with selling online, social media selling, or ultimate guide to email marketing? We teach that over at smallbizladyuniversity.com.
Well, an email is always better than social media too, only because not only tracking, but now you get them into your ecosystem. On social media, if people come to me and say, Michelle, I got 1 million followers. You don't got anything.
Right, right.
That platform has it. So you got to create a drip campaign or something to make them respond to you in order to get your free ebook or a few chapters or a free consultation, whatever it might be, because you want to capture those leads. But you don't got anything. That's such a misconception when people are like, oh, I got, somebody called me the other day and said, I got 2 million followers. I'm like, you don't have anything.
I want to know what their email is and what is their average open rate on email. That's what I would want to know after somebody said that to me.
Especially on Facebook, because Facebook has shut down a lot of people.
Not only Facebook, all of them have. All of them have. Y'all remember when we used to have Google Plus? I had like 2 million people on Google Plus, and then Google decided to get rid of it. Right? So this is what I'm saying. You can't fall in love with property you don't own, right? So you want to make sure that your email list is an ability to print money. So you always want to focus on building your email list above and beyond everything else.
1,000%. So Emily says, what are some essential digital marketing strategies for small business today?
All right. So we just briefly talked about your website. So here's the deal. If your website sucks, don't bother doing social media, because the whole point of doing social media is to drive traffic back to your website. Now, once you have a tight website and you've got 2 or 3 ways to attract an audience to give you their email address, the next thing you want to do is figure out the 1 or 2 social media sites you should be on. And they should be the 1 or 2 social media sites where your niche target customer spends most of their time online. So for example, if you're selling B2B, LinkedIn is the #1 platform for anyone selling business to business. But if you're selling business to consumer, Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I mean, depending on how you're selling and what your product is and how visual your product is, any of those other platforms might serve you better. But nobody needs to be on more than 2 unless you sell social media services. You do not need to be on more than 2 social platforms. It's just a waste of time. And the other thing you want to do too is check your Google Analytics. See what social media sites are actually driving traffic to your site. That's another way to figure out whether or not the social media sites you've been spending time on are worth your time.
That's a great tip. Check your analytics, see what social media platforms are driving traffic to your website. We should put that in the notes too. All right, so we got quite a few questions here rolling in. Hayden says, sometimes I struggle with work-life balance. What advice do you have for me?
Okay, well, I started my business 5 years before I had my son. So my son was a baby as I was growing my business. What I can tell you is work-life balance, I think, is a misnomer. Honestly, I think you need to work on being present more than work-life balance. Like, you don't want to be that person at the ballpark with the phone to your ear and not paying attention to your kid. If you are in a relationship or dating someone, try to set aside 1 night a week for date night and don't let anything get in front of that. Or if you have to work late hours, come home and have dinner with the family and then go down in your home office and finish the rest of your work, right? We work so that we can live our best life. And you don't want to miss out on things or have have a real successful business and have your kids resent you when they get older. That's not a good look. You also want to make sure that you treat your family like they're your #1 client. You cannot act like this business is more important than your family. So you want to just make your own personal boundaries. But again, I work on being present as opposed to work-life balance. I have a deal with my son. Whenever an event or something comes up, I have him rank it. Is it an A event? Is it a B event? or is it a C event? Now, if it's an A event, mommy got to be there. If it's a B event, it's optional. C events, boy, get out of my face with a C event, right? So for me, for me, I try to understand from him what is his priority, right? And the same thing with my current partner. He has a busy job where he travels a lot. He works for a university, works on the weekend. So he and I have our thing like, is this an A event for you? Is this something I need to show up at, or is this something I can get a pass for? So I kind of make sure that the things that are most important for them, I'm there. But they also know I got to get out here and make this money, right? So I travel all over the world as a small biz lady. And what I like to tell my son is, did you like that Disney cruise we went on? Did you like that vacation, in Martha's Vineyard that we went on? Well, those things happen because of the other stuff I'm doing, right? So obviously my son is almost grown now, so we don't have to have those kind of conversations, but you want your kids to know what you're doing. If you can, give them a little job in your business so that they can get invested in what you're doing. And honestly, if you're doing well enough, you should be opening up a Roth IRA in your kid's name and putting $7,500 a year in it so that you can help them build up a little nest egg. So by the time they get to college, or if they get through college and they want to start a business, they got a little nugget of cash that they can work with. So I mean, there's all kinds of little tax strategies and things you can do to support your kids while you're building your business. But just make sure you make time for your family when they say it's important.
Yeah, so I love the ABC, and I was smiling the whole time because I just did a video on balance. And I stood on one foot to see how long I could balance. And and that's pretty much what balance is in life, right? I mean, we're busy entrepreneurs, male or female. And females, I think, even have it tougher.
Oh, yeah.
Because we gotta,
because we got 3 jobs. We're somebody's wife, somebody's mom, and then we own a business, right? And so, or you're a single mom and doing it. So there's a lot of stuff going on with people who are parents and business owners, or maybe you have elderly parents that need your attention. Like, there's always something pulling, I think, at women entrepreneurs especially. But I think that you just have to be honest with yourself and honest with your kids and your partner and say, look, do I need to be there? Right? I even do this with my friends. Okay, you invited me to that. Do you need me to show up, or can I get a pass? And if they say, I need you to show up, I show up.
Yeah. My daughter would mark everything as A. So it really is important to understand, all these books you read about balance and life balance and this, and I hear this a lot from GNCs. Yeah, not GNCs. What do they call it? What that new generation? The Gen Zs.
Oh,
Gen Zs.
yeah.
Gen Zs.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we need work-life balance. Let me tell you something. There's no sense as balance. If you don't learn now how to balance, my Gen Zs, and I got a lot of them to work with me on my team, and I love them, you're not going to know how to balance later. So there really is no such thing as balance. You have to be present.
That's it.
So think about present. I love the ABC list. All right, moving on. Steph says, can you share some strategies for marketing and selling products or services during holiday seasons and special events?
Well, I mean, look, today is November 1st. If you don't have your holiday Black Friday offer out here now, baby, you are late. Okay. Because I heard an ad on the radio this morning that major retailers are talking about their Black Friday offers today. So you need to make sure that in the late summer, you're planning what your Black Friday offer is going to be, what your promotions are going to be. You first want to tell your existing customers in email what you got cooking, what you got going on. Are you going to do a special bundle deal? I'm a big fan of, if you're an inventory driven business, putting something that's a hot seller with something that's a slow seller and making it a bundle, making it a basket, something like that for the holidays, so you can move some of that excess product you're dealing with. Definitely, you should be selling directly online through social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You need to be learning how to do those ads directly on those platforms. If you're selling B2B, email, and then getting your salespeople on the phone, calling people. Magic happens over the phone, right? People think, oh, let me send these ads. Let me send. You got to work the phones. You got to call people and find out if they're interested in what you have to offer. And so it's full court press. A lot of people make their money in fourth quarter, and if that's you, you need to be planning in third quarter to make your money in fourth quarter. And
or second quarter,
or second quarter, but definitely your graphics, your ads, your all that stuff got to be ready. 3-4 months ahead of time so that you can get the slots you want. Facebook knows holiday time is hot and it costs a lot more to advertise during that time. So you want to get your ads in. You want to make sure that you are importing your email list into Facebook so that you can market to your email folks, or so you can create a look-alike audience in Facebook so that you can find people just like the people that already follow you. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do on Instagram and Facebook because of Facebook's platform, but it's expensive, right? So I want you to test 2 to 5 ads and then see which 2 are really translating the best, and then push more money on those 2 ads. Don't put all your money on one ad praying it works. Test, please.
Test. All right, let's compare P's. I got the 6, you got the 12. Now my 6 P's are what you must have to exit a business rich and to build a sustainable, scalable, sellable company. Whereas Melinda's 12 P's, she's an overachiever, but I am too. So hers are all about in the weeds, sometimes running the business. Mine are like, look, you have to have people. Melinda, that's one of your P's, right?
That's my third P is people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people is my first P, because without people, you got nothing. You got a job.
That's basically it.
What's your first P, Melinda?
My first P is preparation. And the reason why my first P is preparation is because I don't think people don't know what's wrong with their business. I think they haven't made a decision that they're ready to fix it yet. So preparation is your mind right? Are you ready to fix your business? Because if you are, I'm here for you. I'm going to tell you how to do it, but you have to make a decision. That 800-pound gorilla customer that pays you late and is super demanding, they need to be fired as a customer. You got a pain in the neck employee that antagonizes you and the other people that work for you, you need to get rid of them. But the pain of replacing them is what's keeping you from firing them. And you need to go ahead on and do.
Amen. Like Dr. Eisner says, who founder of BNI, says, I never lost sleep over the people I fired. I lost sleep over the people I kept.
Say it. Say it. That's the fact. That's a fact. So
preparation.
You want to make sure that these things that are out here that you haven't taken care of, like those taxes you haven't gotten done in 2 years, like that's the stuff that you have to fix now. And you have to make a decision that you're ready to do that. Now, if you are.
Because you know what? Melinda's right. Because I won't even take you on as a client if you haven't fixed those things, if you don't have your taxes in order. Because some businesses, I remember back in the day when I first started out, I took these businesses and they were 5 years that they didn't file taxes. And back in the day, I took them. I won't take them now. So in order to qualify for client for us, that preparation's got to be done. So not with number 2.
100%. Now, my second P is purpose. Because I think sometimes you have to remember why you started your business, and then you have to get clear about why you should still be running it. Because businesses run their course. And sometimes if you are tired or if you've lost your passion, you got to reconnect. And I believe that purpose, I use purpose instead of passion because I believe your mission, your vision, and your passion gives you your purpose, right? You got to have those.
You call it purpose. I call it why.
Yeah, but all of it's the same. It's the same thing. It's like, what's your mission? What's your vision? Who are you passionate about serving? And if you've got those 3, then you've got your purpose. And that's what it is. And then my next P is people, which we've already discussed. And
which is my P, which is my first P, because I can't sell your business unless the business can operate without you, or at least 60-70% without you. Because Go ahead, Melinda.
But my next P is profit. We've already talked about profit too,
That's what
because
I'm
again, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And so you want to be really clear about your profit margins in every sale. And then the next P for me is processes. You have to document how your business runs. And the other reason why this is important is because a lot of entrepreneurs confuse what I call queen bee work for worker bee work, right? So if your time is billable at $250, $500 an hour, why would you ever input your own data into QuickBooks? Why would you do that? That's not a task you should be doing. You as an entrepreneur need to always work on your most high valued activities, and sales and following up with sales and talking to more people about sales is your number one job as an entrepreneur, I believe. So
Yeah, I call that the ABC list. A, you focus on what you do better than anybody else, and you can't replace yourself. B is what you can do, like QuickBooks, but you should be delegating it. And then C is what you absolutely 1000% should not do. And so I want to go back to profits real quick. The other thing on profits is you might think, oh, yeah, I'm profitable, I'm profitable, I'm profitable. And maybe you are. But when I go to sell your business on paper, you're not, because you're running through personal expenses and non-recurring. And we need to get clear on what those add backs are so that we can do what we call adjusted EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. Processes, I agree with 1000%, because if people don't run your company, the processes should.
100%. 100%. And how are you going to onboard your employees if you don't have processes documented? That's the other issue.
1000%.
But
and I always
you,
put profits last. I just want to say I put profits last, Melinda, because I always say profits are not the problem. It's a symptom of not having the right people in place, not having the right products, not having your processes in order.
at 100%. And then after you look at that, though, then it's time to look at your productivity, as in what productivity tools should you be using to move faster. You can automate a lot of stuff in marketing. You can automate a lot of stuff in accounting, your invoices and follow-ups to your invoices. That stuff can be automated. So you've got to make sure, you're looking at your CRM tool. Is it tied to the email marketing tool you're using, right? You just got to make sure that a lot of us are paying for software we don't even use, or that we don't know how to use, right? So
I think a lot of people are guilty of that.
yeah, so we need to stop all that. That's foolishness. You're just giving money to people just because, right? So what I want us to think about is how you can use, and what's awesome is now we've got all these AI tools out here that can make us move even faster. And my favorite new app is There's an AI for that.com. And they catalog every AI tool on the internet every week. And it is amazing. I think they've got over 400, 1,500 tools on there.
So they stole there is an app for this, and now there is an AI for that.
There's an AI for that.com.
Let's put that in the show notes. There is an AI for that.com. Okay, so productivity, what number was that?
That is productivity is number 6, actually.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then number 7 is performance. And performance is really about measurement in a business. So what I mean by that is, do you know what your open rate is on email? Do you know what your sales cycle is? Do you know what your cost per lead is? Do you
your
know
acquisition
what
costs,
your
right?
cost per sale is, right? These are all, there's also a lot of ratios around marketing that you need to know as well. And so it's really important for you to sit down with your accountant and make them show you how they calculate it, so you can calculate it, so that you can really understand. If you're buying ads on Facebook, they're really good about telling you how much you're paying per lead. Between $4 and $7 a lead is actually pretty normal, depending on, who you're trying to attract. But you've got to understand what your cost per lead is out, and the other things you're doing. How much money are you spending on developing social media content and pushing social media out there? And what is the return on that? Right? If you're doing marketing that you don't measure, you might as well drive down the street and throw money out the window, because that's tantamount to what you're doing. So you really want to make sure that you are measuring how your business operates so that you have a bar to get higher, get better. There's lots of other ratios that you can look at, productivity per employee, that kind of stuff. So there's, especially if you have a billable hour type of company, like if you're an accountant, lawyers, architects, people that bill by the hour, you want to be able to know which architects are killing it and which architects aren't billing enough hours, right? You want to be able to track all this stuff, and you need to pay attention to it. So all of those things are things that you need to be looking at and measuring in a business. And the next P is
Okay,
product.
so I'm going to ask you, Melinda, for time purposes, because we want to make sure everybody can find you and look you up, etc. So for time purposes, let's just name them real quick. So what's number 7?
Number 7 is product.
So product is my number 2.
Yeah, so product is my number 7, and then presence is my number 8. Prospects is my number 9.
Which I call those patrons, which is my number 5.
And then planning is my number 11, and then perseverance is my number 12.
All right, so we got the 12 P's there. Let's just take a few seconds and talk about what your product is versus what my product is, because we've been kind of doing that with people and patrons. Yeah. So tell me about your product real quick.
My product is really about looking at what you sell right now and thinking about, is it going to be relevant 3 to 5 years from now? Because it's not about what you sell your client today. It's about your client's future needs. You need to be looking at your industry trends. And you just need to be talking to your customers to make sure that, because when I was in graduate school, the one thing I remember my strategy professor saying is that strategy in a business is about creating something about your business that is not easily duplicatable by your competitors. And so it is really important that when you start thinking about what you sell, is how easy is it for somebody else to put a shingle out here and be selling it 2 minutes later, right? If it's easy, then it's time to regroup. It's time to think about what's next for you, because it's just too easy to buy purses off of Temu and sell them on Amazon, right? So you need to make sure that you really have a unique value proposition and some secret sauce going on in your business that makes your business special and uniquely your business.
Yeah. So my product is, you must have more than one congruent. You must have more than one revenue stream. It's the number one reason why restaurants went out of business during COVID, because they have one way that they get paid. Somebody comes in and orders, or they take food out. They don't have private label. They don't have food shows, etc. The list can go on and on. So mine is, what is your product? Is it relevant? What are your congruent revenue streams? So like we have a lot of companies who have plumbing, who have heating, who have contracting, who are looking for electrical to add. It needs to be congruent. You should have 4 to 7 ways that you get paid. You have one way you're going to get paid, you can find yourself out of business. And I agree with Melinda. It's got to be relevant. You have to look into the future. This is the number one reason why it used to be startups that failed. Startups are not failing at the same rate they used to. It used to be 95% of startups will go out of business, 90 to 95. Guess what it is now? Only 30% of startups are going out of business. But guess what?
Existing businesses are dying.
70% of existing businesses are dropping like flies because lack of aim. Aim is always innovate and market, always innovate and market. So just because you had a product, it's like, look at McDonald's, look at all these different fast food chains. They're always innovating. They're always adding different things to the menu. So you can't, and you shouldn't just learn from your industry. Go out to other industries and see what they're doing. So you must innovate and market. That's the biggest thing. And that's why I say you must have 5 to 7 ways, or 4 to 7 ways you get paid. All right. So tell us about recession, Melinda. What should we be worried about? What should we not worry about? Small businesses in recession. Let's see if you and I think the same on this.
You know what? I think recessions, there's always people that win in recessions and there's people that lose in recessions. So,
all right, we think the same.
So I think that there were people that won in the pandemic and there were people that lost, right? So people that were ready that knew how to sell online, that had an email list, those were the people that still made money during the pandemic. And I think that going into the recession, the same stuff is true. You've got to know how to sell and market online. You've got to know how to sell on the platforms, and you've got to know how to use email. And there's 9 sales funnels every small business owner needs, and you need to make sure that you have that in place for your business. A shopping cart abandonment funnel, a transaction thank you funnel, a nurture funnel when someone first downloads your lead magnet. Like, all of these things are things that you need to have in place so that these things could be working for you. They're
Right.
set it and forget it once you put them together, right? So you've got to make sure that you have all those things in place, and you've got to keep in touch with your existing customers. In any recession, it's your existing customers that could save you. And so you've got to get on the phone, you got to talk to them, you got to figure out what they need, what their budget cycles are, what's coming up, so that you can keep your name and your business name top of mind. So you've got to get on the phone. You got to get your salespeople on the phone. Everybody's got to be working on this because budgets are getting tight. People are getting laid off, right? And it's if they raise interest rates today, right? Other crazy stuff is going to start happening. So you want to make sure that you protect yourself by making sure that you're not leaving any money anywhere. You want to cover your ground on email and on social, and you want to make sure that you are touching base with your customers and offering them special deals, keeping in touch with them so that you can have an opportunity to bid on business going into 2024.
Yeah, I agree. And I also believe that it's really important to pivot. A lot of businesses pivoted during COVID. We had a restaurant here, Commander's Palace, in one of the world renowned restaurants. You know what they did? They started this huge global winery, a wine tasting, pairing it with cheese and things. And so people would buy packages from them. They would deliver packages at the doorstep. If they were out of the country, then they would go to their favorite wine store, their favorite cheese store, etc. And you had to pay money to be part of the group. And you also, because it was an experience they had created. So you have to pivot. The other thing is you don't cut marketing during a recession.
Oh my gosh, no. Please don't do that.
I told my clients, I said, let's cut this and this and this and this. But marketing, you look at what's working and what's not. What's not, cut it.
Right.
What's working, double down, triple down on that marketing.
That's it.
And so that's very important. So let's talk real quick about marketing, because one of the biggest things is marketing's become so complex. What should business owners prioritize with their marketing? I know you've talked a lot about marketing, but how do they prioritize that, Melinda?
Well, you have to make sure that you're working on marketing 1 full day a week or 2 hours a day, every day, right? A lot of times project-based businesses, they get a new project, they're working on that project, and then, 2 weeks before that project's about to end, oh no, we don't have another customer, let's start marketing again. No, marketing is something you need to do every day, 2 hours a day, or you need to take 1 day a week and that's all you do. But you
hire it out, you inspect what you expect, you hire it out if that's not your expertise. It's not my expertise. So I have a marketing partner, or you get with Melinda and you hire her, because let's face it, entrepreneurs, they're not always marketing geniuses. So you need to focus on your strengths, hire out your weaknesses.
100%. But it doesn't, literally, you could call 5 people a day. You can send 10 emails a day. Yeah. You can connect with 10 new connections on LinkedIn a day. That's marketing, right? It doesn't have to be this, big ad campaign, flashy flag. No, it's just people do business with people. And you need to, and it's really a numbers game. So if 3 out of 10 sales calls close, what does that mean? That means you got to have 30 sales calls a week. You got to, this is a numbers thing. You got to get the calls, you got to get the sales, you got to get the appointments so that.
But if you want ad spend and you want social media expertise and all that stuff, and that's not your area of expertise, copywriting, etc. You hire somebody it is their expertise. But Melinda's right. You can make those cold calls. You can send out LinkedIn messages. Anybody can do that.
But don't hire somebody that you don't give goals to. Don't hire people that
Absolutely.
you don't hold accountable to goals. Because again, drive down the street, throw money out the window, because that's what you're doing when you do
Now
marketing.
you have to have the goals and you have to monitor that. Right. And expect what you expect, Melinda. That's what I always say. And expect what you expect. So, and then also start with your like top 10 list, 200 top 10 people you want to do business with. And then grow that. Who's the top 15? Who's the top 20? Who's the top 50? You know, also do that. All right, Melinda, we're almost out of time here, and we got to save the best for last. How can our listeners get in touch with you, work with you, maybe take some of your
Well,
classes?
I am easy to find. My website is smallbizladyuniversity.com. All over social media, I am Small Biz Lady, and I would love for you all to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am Melinda Emerson on LinkedIn. So certainly, if there's anything I can do to support you with your marketing, we do coaching, we have online programs. We can support you in your business. So come on, let the Small Biz Lady fix your business.
So we will include all of those contacts into the show notes, so you have them there as well. So thank you, Melinda. You've been a great guest. Lots. I knew we were going to have great synergy because yesterday we couldn't stop talking. But great synergies. We share the same value on business. Great golden nuggets that you dropped. Can't wait to be on your podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know my audience, all of you, are probably taking notes like crazy, or you're driving, so you might want to listen to this podcast again. Share it with your friends, share it with your fellow entrepreneurs, share it with as many people as you know. They can really gain great insight and how to's from Melinda today. So until I see you, make sure you subscribe to the Experts Podcast. I'll see you next Wednesday for another great episode. Thank you again, Melinda. Thank you to my listeners and my followers.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.